But I would also mention that I am a part of a big organization which is called the European Network Against Racism, which is Europe's biggest anti-racist organization. I'm the vice chair there. And we've been looking at the same issues, but instead of at national level, but at international level, at EU level. But today I'm just going to give you a rapid, clear picture of how the situation looks like in Sweden. Because in most cases, when we talk about issues that have to do with racism, when we talk about issues that have to do with neo-colonial issues, when we talk about issues that have to do with migrants, Sweden is not one of the first countries that we think about. Because it's not a big country, it's a country with a population of just over 9 million people. But a lot of things have been happening. Just this year, there is the prognosis is saying we're expecting over 190,000 asylum seekers coming to Sweden, a population of 9 million. And what we've been doing, the Pan-African Movement for Justice, we've been looking at several different strategies that we've had throughout these years. And those strategies are extremely important in combination with other organizations and the different strategies that they have. The situation, looking at the policies that we've had in Sweden, looking at the history, not only of Sweden, but also of Europe, you understand the contemporary situation, the rhetoric that is used in the discussion and the discourse about the migrant issues today. 100 years ago, there were over 25 million Europeans that emigrated to the United States. And out of those 25 million, more than 1 million were Swedes. And these are not only refugees that were running away from war, but some of them are just poor economic migrants. Poor economic migrants that had problems having even food to feed their families. People were starving and dying because there was no food in Sweden. This is just 100 years ago. Families that could not speak English at all, that never went to school, all packed their luggage and get on the boat, on the ship, to find a better life in the United States. Now, when we talk about this today, people tend to have an amnesia. They tend to forget that Sweden has not always been rich. There was a time when the reality that we see today, it was very present in Swedish society and European society. All these people, over 1 million immigrants from Sweden, went to the United States to look for a better life. And today, when you go to the United States, there was a time in the United States, in Chicago, there were more Swedes in Chicago than in Gothenburg, which is the second largest city in Sweden. And those people could not speak English. They didn't go to school, they are illiterates. But they were welcome in the United States. They stayed in the United States. They made a better life out of being welcome in the United States. And today, you have big communities, Swedish communities in the United States. And today, when we're talking about 60 million refugees, and out of the 60 million, over 86% are living in poor countries. Sweden is one of the richest countries in the world. And with that history, when we get 180,000 refugees, we say, oh, now this is the end of the world. The right-wing political party is growing every single day. The rhetoric is getting harder, and they are burning down mosques. In the past couple of months, they burned more than almost 15 different asylum refugee residents. Latest yesterday, every time the immigration announced that we are going to have this building and we're going to bring in refugees to stay in this building, the next minute it is burned down to the ground. And it's happening every single day. You have the racist party, right-wing party, having a rhetoric that is extremely, extremely fatal, where they mobilize as many people as possible and telling them, we need to take back this country. That's the rhetoric they use. They put the addresses of all these residents that immigrants are living on the internet. They said, this is where they are. And they do all this with impunity. Now the law is not coming to them and say, listen, what you're doing, you're inciting hatred. And because you're putting these addresses on the internet, people are knowing exactly where these people are living, they're burning down their houses. That's the situation. A couple of days ago in Sweden, maybe you have not read this. A guy went to a school, a high school. He was masked as Darth Vader. I don't know if you've seen the movie Star Wars, black with a mask. And in the school that he went to, he walked through the corridor, he saw other white kids and he was hugging them and taking pictures. But when he saw the people of color, when he saw a black child, a student, he stabbed him to death. There was a teacher from Iraq. He stabbed him to death. He stabbed 3 other people, and that right now they're fighting for their lives. That is the situation in Sweden today. Because of the immigration situation, people are getting angry and the hate is increasing. And the incitement is over the top. And our politicians are succumbing. They are somehow accepting this rhetoric. And now, just last week, our government, together with the right-wing political parties, oppositions, came to an agreement that now we are not going to accept the refugees to come and get a permanent resident and stay here and be established. But anybody that comes here will be given a temporary resident. Before, if you come from Syria, you are given a permanent resident because we want you to know that you are safe here and you can start a life. You get a job, you have a family, and you have a future. Now that is stopped. From now on, when you come there, you're giving a temporary resident, and that temporary resident would only be a permanent resident if you can find a job. Now, there's an unemployment rate in my city over 16%. And most of the people that are employed are people of immigrant background, not because they are not qualified, not because they don't have an education, not because they don't speak the language, not because even they are not born there. Some of them are born in that country, but they don't get jobs. Now, if it is already like that for people that speak the language, that people that are qualified, now how do you expect refugees that moved in, that came in, and some of them are illiterate, to get a job within 2-3 years and have a qualified job and pay taxes? So it makes it impossible. Now, what we do from the Pan-African movement is that we realize that it's important to advocate. Advocacy is extremely important, and advocacy at all levels. The first level is policy. We need to make sure that we talk to politicians who raise these issues, who write articles about it. We have dialogues with politicians at highest level and explain the situation, that these are some of the consequences of your actions and the policies that we have, and recommend policies that are more progressive, that would create stability, that would create protection, that would create equal opportunities for these people that are coming into the country. The second thing that we do is organization. We need to organize, just like what you're doing here today. You bring together organizations that have common interests and goals. We mobilize different organizations in Sweden, and we talk about what we can do together in order to be able to raise awareness, but also to influence policy. Because the more we are, the better the chance we have influencing policy. The third thing that we do is to actually help immigrants that are coming. One thing, we need to change the narrative, because the narrative today is different. When we talk about immigrants, we talk of as if these are vultures that come to our countries and they just want to use everything and they're lazy, they don't want to do anything. Now, 3 out of every third Syrian is a university graduate. So we have to see the positivity in that, but we don't see that. We just see them, they're all vultures, they come here, they want to use our system. So we need to change that narrative by talking about the positive aspects of people that are coming here and the potential they have in making change, in bringing change and progress in the countries that we live. And that we do in several different ways. So for our organization, we are very happy to be here because we think, being here together with all these organizations that are here, we can make change not only in Sweden, but we can make change at the European level. And that's what we need to do, because Europe has come together and they have their common regulations. And if we can make change in Sweden, that doesn't make that the same change apply to Italy, Portugal, and all these other countries. But if we can make change at the European level, then it applies to each and every European country. And that must be objective. Thank you very much.